Good morning. Today we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing radical expressions. That basically means we're going to take things that are inside of radicals and we're going to multiply them, okay? Or we're going to have something that would be like 2 an exponent power, and then we can multiply those together by adding the exponents together, okay? So if you have something like that, you would add the exponents together. All right, so let's go try this. Real fast, though, let's go look at this. You've got, we don't have any radical rational things going on, so we're just going to multiply. Now, we're only going to multiply the numbers that are not under the radical sign. So 3 times 4 is 12, and then the square root of 6 just kind of comes along with it. That's the same idea of doing 3 times 4x, right? You wouldn't multiply 3 times 4 and then 3 times x. You're just going to make that a 12x. So it's the same thing. Let's go and try this one. Now this one's going to involve foiling. So go ahead and set this up. Pause this anytime you want. All right, so you're going to FOIL. So 3 times 1 is 3. And then 3 times the square root of 5 is 3 times the square root of 5. And then square root of 5 times 1 is 1 square root of 5. And then square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is basically the square root of 25, right? Because you're going to multiply those numbers underneath there. And then you're going to go and evaluate that, and that turns into a 5. Let's go and combine our like terms. I've got a 3 and a 5, and that's going to make 8. And then I've got a 3 square root of 5 and a 1 square root of 5. So those are like terms because they have the same radical and they have the same number underneath. So that's a 4 square root of 5. So if I wrote it all in the same color, this is our answer, 8 plus 4 square root of 5. Same idea as doing any other kind of foiling. All right, let's try dividing. So when you divide them, you can basically take the square root of each part. So let's go and break this apart just to make it a little easier. And then we're going to go and just deal with, oh, square root of 4x. Well, that's the square root of 4 times the square root of x. We could break that apart even more over the square root of 25. Then just deal with each individual part. So square root of 4 is 2. Square root of x, we can't do anything with that, so we leave it. Square root of 25 is 5. That's all you do. All right, break it apart and then put it back together. Let's try something else. Now this is an SOL question from a few years ago. And so let's look at that. So follow the same thing. Break up your 7x and your 16. Now you can't simplify the square root of 7x, so it has to stay. But the square root of 16 becomes a 4. So which answer is the right answer? It looks like C would be the right answer. All right, let's try a couple others. This is your multiplying rule, okay? So anytime you multiply anything with the same kind of root, you can just write them all under the same thing. So let's try that. Here's an example. 12, square root of 12 times square root of 3. You know, you can't take the square root of 12 easily. You can't take the square root of 3 easily. So let's multiply that together and see if we can get something that we can evaluate. Oh, yeah, we can. So let's try some of that. All right, so you've got the square root of 4a times the square root of 25a squared. All right, I can't do a lot with too much of that. I can with that. Yeah, these are kind of easy, you can do. But let's go and multiply them together just to see how that would work out. So that's going to give me the square root of 100 a to the 3rd power, okay? So now we're going to go and evaluate each part. So the square root of 100 times the square, oh, look what we're going to do. I'm going to write that in rational form. I'm going to make that an a to the 3 over 2. And now I've got 10. And then I ask myself, how many times does 2 go into 3 evenly? It goes in 1 time evenly. And I've got 1 left over. Okay, so that could be done that way. The other way would have been to just do these separately and then multiply them And you could have done these because they are squares, but most of the time they're not. So let's look for one that's not. There you go. Here's one that's not. So you've got the square root of 10xy times the square root of 5xy to the fourth. All right, you can't do anything with this 10xy, and you can't really do much with the 5. So let's multiply them together. And we get 50x squared y to the fifth. All right, so now we've got, like we did yesterday, we're going to find a perfect square that goes into 50. I'm going to go with 25 and 2. And you can do x squared over 2. Oh, look how that's going to work out nicely. Y to the fifth over 2, because we're taking the square root. Now we go and evaluate each part. And so we've got 5 comes out. So we're done with that. I'm going to leave that 2 for a minute because I can't do anything with that. So that's got to go toward the end. This x to the 2 over 2, well, that's just going to become an x. So all of those go away. And then how many times does 2 go into 5 evenly? Well, it goes in twice, so we're going to do y squared. And then now we got to go put all of our remainders back. Okay, so we've got square root of 2 goes in here. And then remember, we have a remainder of 1 here, right? Because 2 goes into 5 evenly 2 times, but then there's 1 left over. And so we've got that. All right, let's go see if I've got another one for you. All right, these are going to turn out kind of easy. I'm going to skip that and try that in class. Let's see. Let's try this one. This is an SOL question. Which expression is equivalent? Oh, actually, I don't want to do that. Let's do this one. All right, so I've got the square root of 5. Okay, these look terrible, so let's go multiply them together. And we're going to get 125, a to the fourth, b to the third, c to the eighth. And then you go and simplify that out. All right, like we did yesterday. So I'm going to go and break this down. Yeah, we could have probably kept the 25 and the 5 separate. And then we're going to do a to the 4 over 2, b to the 3 over 2, and c to the 8 over 2. Okay? So now let's go and separate these out. We've got square root of 25 is 5. So I'm going to get that out of there. Can't do anything with that yet. So let's just go make this over here. Put that 5 and leave it under there. All right, a to the 4 over 2 turns into a squared. All right, how many times does 2 go into 3? Goes in 1 time, and you've got 1 left over. And then you've got 8 over 2. C to the 8 over 2 is just basically going to be c to the fourth. So it's kind of scrunched up. So our answer is going to be 5a squared b c to the fourth square root of 5b. That is a mess, but that's the simplified form of it. All right, we're going to skip that SOL question, and we'll talk about those tomorrow in class before we start this assignment. So your assignment on Thursday will be to do this in class, but if you want to start on it early, you can. I think I'm going to send it to you a little bit early. All right, I will see you tomorrow, and make sure that you have this looked at before you come to class on Thursday.